I never imagined a simple prayer from a little girl could spark a life-changing act of compassion. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started bleak and gray, the sky was heavy with unshed rain. My heart pounded as I walked to the hospital, dreading the reality I knew awaited me. Just steps away, I heard a giggle. It felt out of place. I turned, and there she was, a little girl, perhaps 7 years old, with golden curls bouncing as she spun in circles, arms wide open, welcoming the chaotic wind like it was a friend. The flicker of joy in her bright eyes contrasted sharply with the sterile walls of the hospital. The smell of antiseptic clawed at my nostrils, pinching my chest. I desperately wished for her innocence, wishing I could hold on to that moment for just a little longer. In her tiny hands, she clutched a deformed teddy bear, covered in band-aids. I felt a pang in my heart. I knew what those band-aids meant: suffering, pain, and endless waiting. Yet, there she stood, a spunky beacon of hope. Her gaze caught mine, and she grinned, her smile blinding. "Do you believe in magic?" she asked, voice sweet as cotton candy. I nodded, charmed by her spirit, a spirit that was too bright for this place. That I prayed for my Teddy, she continued, bouncing on her toes. And then I knew, a doctor would come. He'll make him all better. I could feel the tightness in my chest loosen just a bit. Her faith felt tangible, filled with a fervor I had long since abandoned. That I stepped closer, my curiosity ignited. "What makes you believe that?" "There are fairies here," she said, glancing around with wide eyes, as if searching for something magical in the dreary hallways. "They help sick people. Just like me." Her innocent conviction tightened my throat, making it hard to breathe. I was being swallowed by my own pain. My mother lay in a room down the hall, her dull form barely recognizable under sheets that fluffed her up like a lifeless ghost. I watched as the girl swayed, a whisper of movement echoed through the stones of that dismal hospital, and in a moment that seemed frozen in time, she dropped down on her knees. She clasped her hands together, eyes closed. "Dear God, please help my Teddy to feel better. And also help the people who are lost and sad." Something shivered in the air. An electric tension crackled around us, weaving through silence that felt thick and charged. I leaned closer, not daring to breathe. Her tiny fingers held tightly to her bear as if it were her lifeline, and for an instant, I hoped her prayer might reach beyond the walls of this building, beyond my own despair. Just then, I noticed a doctor rushing down the hall, his expression grim, eyes set on something or someone behind me. A violent shiver rolled through me. My heart raced, sensing an impending storm. The little girl, still lost in her prayer, finished with a breathless amen, and I wondered, was this encounter mere coincidence, or something more? Was this child a messenger of hope, or was I being drawn towards a fate darker than I could imagine? The doctor paused, glancing back at the little girl, and then met my gaze. There was something in his eyes, something that sent a chill up my spine. I felt as if the air had shifted, as if everything was about to unravel before my very eyes. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." I stood frozen as the doctor approached. Each step he took was a heavy thud in the hollow space of my chest. The little girl, completely unaware of the tension building, had shifted her attention to her bear again, whispering comforting words I couldn't quite hear. I wanted to reach out, to ask the doctor about my mother, to confront the reality I had been avoiding since dawn. But the sight of the little girl, her unwavering faith, held me captive. "Excuse me," I finally managed to say, though my voice trembled like fragile glass. He turned to me, and for a moment, his eyes softened. "What's wrong with her?" I gestured toward the room at the end of the hall where my mother lay, the weight of years pressing against my shoulders. She's stable, we're monitoring her closely, the doctor replied, but his tone suggested he was skirting something more difficult to say. Breaking bad news is always hard, we have to prepare you for the worst. His gaze flickered back to the little girl, lost in her own universe of hope. But every moment is precious. Cherish them. The words stung, plunging me deeper into despair. I knew what lay on the other side of that door. I had been there before, watching my mother fade, the absence of her warmth growing unbearable. My heart twisted, feeling that if I faced it directly, I might shatter, so I lingered in the sterile environment, clinging to the girl's innocent laughter. Before I could retreat into my thoughts, the girl caught my eye again, brandishing her teddy in the air. Look! He's singing! She squealed, her voice glittering with joy that felt like sunlight cutting through the gloom. I forced a smile, attempting to blend into her world of enchantment. Somehow it felt easier to let her distraction guide me, if only briefly. But the reality awaited, persistent and unyielding. I took a shaky breath and ventured toward the door. Each step felt monumental, heavy with grief and anticipation. I peered through the glass pane, confronted by the sight of my mother unresponsive, small beneath the crisp linens that cocooned her, a lifeless figure suspended between realms. My heart raced. It was as if the walls themselves had conspired against me, twisting the knife of despair deeper into my chest. And yet in that moment, when darkness loomed, a spark ignited, an unexpected kindness from a passing nurse who noticed my distress. She paused, offering me a gentle smile. It's hard to see someone you love like that. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. I nodded, gratitude flooding me amidst the sorrow, and for a split second, I felt less alone. I stepped back from the door, finding solace in the gleaming floor tiles, in the warmth of that nurse's empathy. But the weight of uncertainty still clung to my spirit. Just then, I heard the little girl's laughter cascade into the corridor, and I turned to see her spinning again, her spirit an infectious balm against the somber atmosphere. She rushed to my side, her teddy almost forgotten. Do you want to help me pray for my teddy? Somewhere in me, a flicker of connection sparked. Of course, I said, my heart unearthing a longing I had buried. As we knelt together, her tiny hands wrapped around mine, she whispered her prayer, and I found myself wondering if believing could shift the tides of fate. I squeezed her fingers, feeling the warmth of her innocence seep into my skin. Then, a commotion erupted a few yards away, frantic voices, hurried footsteps. The doctor emerged again, flanked by medical staff. My stomach tightened in response to the anxious energy swirling around us. Is it my mom? I called out, panic breaking free of the hold I had tried to maintain. But then my chest tightened again, an ominous weight that seemed to suck the breath from my lungs as I locked eyes with the doctor. Please just stay there, he said, urgency laced with something I couldn't decipher. The little girl's gaze flicked between us, sensing the shift. Are we still believing in magic? She whispered, her voice quaking slightly as if she understood the deeper disturbance looming. Always, I replied, though I wasn't sure any magic remained. The uncertainty turned oppressive, and just as the fear gripped me with icy fingers, I noticed the nurse who had spoken to me moments earlier. She was staring at the scene with wide eyes and a slack jaw. No, something was wrong, something was about to unravel. My heart thudded in rhythm with the chaos as the doctor moved further down the hall, leading the team away. And as I stood there, the little girl's hold on my hand tightened, a small anchor fighting the pull of despair. I was about to let hope slip through my fingers when my phone buzzed in my pocket. A text. I pulled it out, half-heartedly expecting it to be nothing significant. What I saw stopped my breath cold. No more time. I need to talk. It's urgent, it read, and as I looked up, something dark and foreboding settled into the pit of my stomach. Somehow, everything in my world just shifted, and I could feel the delicate thread of hope thinning, threatening to snap altogether. The weight of the text lingered in the air like a heavy fog, obscuring everything else. I felt the little girl's small fingers tighten around mine, but the warmth of her innocence was eclipsed by a creeping dread that gnawed at my insides. What's wrong? she asked, cocking her head to one side, not fathoming the turmoil rising like a tide within me. That I don't know just yet, I replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask slipping further away from my reality. But the truth was, the message pulled me toward a voice I had long buried under layers of denial. It echoed in my mind, swirling like dark winds through a storm, threatening to uproot everything I thought I had controlled. Is magic still real? The girl pressed with bright eyes, and just for a moment, I wanted to believe that it was. I wanted to wrap the world in her naivete, allowing it to shield me from the cold truth that overwhelmed my heart. Perhaps magic did exist in moments like these, where hope intertwined with wistful dreams of a happier reality. I think it is, I murmured, though I felt my own faith falter. The truth was a persuasive adversary, creeping in with stark clarity. Time was slipping through my fingers like grains of sand, and uncertainty had burrowed deep into the roots of my being. As I looked down the corridor, I saw the doctor re-emerge, looking worn and conflicted. He caught my gaze, and his expression was laden with the gravity of unspoken responsibility. Without thinking, I turned my back to him, retreating deeper into the moment, if only for a breath. Instantly, my phone buzzed again. Another message, more urgent this time. "Where are you? Answer me." I hesitated, my finger hovering over the screen. Ignoring the anxious throbbing in my chest, I glanced down at the little girl, her bear now clasped tightly in her arms and a small frown forming on her lips. "Are we still praying?" she asked, her innocence piercing through my hesitations. In that moment, I wished for nothing more than to escape into her happiness, to let the pediatric wards and the sterile walls fade into the background. Still, I could feel the threads of fate spiraling dangerously out of my grasp. "Let's pray for my mom," I whispered, an unexpected strength blooming in my voice. Kneeling once more, I squeezed her hands tightly, lifting our joined palms together in the fading light. The girl's fervor ignited something in me, something that reminded me of all the moments we had shared, the laughter, the warmth, the memories that colored my heart even now. As we prayed, I attempted to clutch those fleeting threads of hope. When we finally stood, I felt an odd sense of clarity settle over me. It was more than just a flicker, it sparked a fire inside, a determination to fight against the encroaching darkness. I straightened, the world around me sharpening, and for a moment the air felt electric with possibility, but that was when I felt the jarring shift in atmosphere. I turned at the sound of hurried whispers. A group of doctors surrounded a nurse who appeared shaken, clutching her clipboard for dear life. My heart sank as I approached cautiously, hope mingling with fear like two opposing forces. "Excuse me, what's happening?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. The nurse looked up, her eyes wide and filled with empathy. "You should brace yourself," she said, her voice soft yet trembling. "There's been an unexpected development. It might not be what you want to hear." Every word felt like a punch to the gut, and as I looked toward the girl, now sporting a worried expression, I knelt back down to her level. "Hey, remember our prayers? We have to keep believing in magic, okay?" "No matter what," I said, my voice shaky yet resolute. She nodded earnestly, a child's belief holding firm against the tumultuous gales of adulthood. It was all I had to cling to. As I felt the tug of reality threatening to drown hope away, I caught another glimpse of the corridor, the urgent tone of the doctor fading like the echo of distant thunder. And then my phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with a name I hadn't seen in years. A name that stirred fragments of an old wound, long forgotten but never healed. "Mom." The text read. "It's important. I need to talk." In that instant, the weight of the world collided with the unsteady rhythm of hope, sending a shockwave through me. Suddenly, everything I had worked to bury clawed its way back to the surface. I looked back to the little girl, who was now watching me with immense curiosity, her comfort offering a fragile shield against the storm outside. Yet deep down, I knew that this moment was merely a prelude to something vast and unfurling, and I could feel the very fabric of my reality begin to unravel as I faced the unimaginable. The air buzzed with an uncanny mixture of hope and dread as I stood frozen, staring at the screen. The name flashed like a warning light, bright and impossible to ignore. It was a name that haunted me, filled with echoes of days spent in turmoil and unsaid goodbyes. The little girl beside me tugged at my sleeve, her wide eyes brimming with concern. "Are you okay?" she asked, her innocence like a balm, yet also a reminder of the jagged edges of my past. That I took a deep breath, forcing the words out of my mouth. "It's just an old friend trying to reach out." The word friend felt like a hollow title for someone who had long caused me pain. As I hesitated, the magnitude of the text loomed over me, shadowing the flicker of hope ignited by our prayer. What did she want? Why now? It was as if the universe was testing my resilience, pushing old wounds back into the light just when I thought I had found my footing. "I'll be right back," I said to the girl, not truly believing I could leave this precious moment behind. There was a vulnerability in her stare, a need for reassurance that resonated deep within me. But I had to face this, to confront the past that had been thrumming beneath my skin for so long that I turned away from her and moved to a quiet corner, the sterile walls closing in like the bars of a cage. With trembling hands, I opened the text, my thumb hovering over the keys. What could possibly be important now? I muttered under my breath, grappling with a sudden surge of anger and confusion. "Let's talk. I need to explain." The message echoed in my mind, opening old wounds while igniting a flicker of curiosity. Just when I was about to type a dismissive reply, urgency pulsed beneath me. Memories flooded through, shouting matches, tears, unanswered calls, the chasm that had widened so fiercely between us. How could she just waltz back into my life? I murmured, feeling the warmth of the little girl's hand slip from my grasp. When the doctor's voice broke through my reverie, it shattered the fragile web of thoughts I'd been weaving. "I'm sorry, we need to discuss your mother's condition," he said, his tone serious yet carrying that same omnipresent heaviness. I looked up, and there was a flicker of something in his gaze, perhaps compassion or understanding that I asked their news. I asked, each word tasting bitter and laced with panic. That he hesitated, his brow slightly furrowed as he glanced towards the nurse, who was now also looking pallid. "We've received some troubling updates. We need to act quickly." A sense of foreboding gripped me, wrapping around my chest like a vice. "What are you saying?" "Her vital signs are diminishing. There's a chance she might not have much time," he said, the words crashing over me like a tidal wave. I staggered backward, the sensation of falling forcing a gasp from my lips. The world narrows to nothing but silence, overwhelming and consuming. Instinctively, I thought of the little girl, and I took a sharp breath. "She can't. There must be something more." "We just prayed," I insisted, my heart racing. The doctor lowered his gaze, his expression unyielding yet gentle. "We will do everything we can, I promise you that." But the panicked chaos unraveling inside of me drowned the doctor's words. I glanced at my phone again, feeling an odd sense of urgency tinged with inevitability clawing at my insides. How could this be happening? It wasn't the first time the specter of death danced in the shadows of my life, but never this close to home, never so personal. That I spun back, searching for comfort in the little girl, but when I looked for her, I saw only the hallway stretched into the distance, empty except for another nurse hastily passing by, an alarm chiming in her wake. "What's going on?" I whispered to myself, confusion deepening. Where had she gone, my small anchor amidst this storm? Had I left her for too long? Just then, a soft tug caught my wrist, and I turned to see her again, clutching her bare with both hands. "I was scared," she admitted, her voice quiet like a secret drifting on the wind. "I'm sorry," I said, kneeling to her level. "I didn't mean to leave you." The warmth that surrounded her returned to me, a flicker of light in an ocean of darkness. "I prayed for your mom," she said matter-of-factly, her features still framed with that innocent vulnerability. "And I think she can feel us, you know. Like magic." Her faith struck me like an arrow to the heart. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe that somehow prayers could travel through thick walls, through the darkness involuntarily encroaching on my soul. But as I gazed into her hopeful eyes, determined to hold on to our unwavering moment, the phone buzzed again, this time a new message lighting up the screen and drawing my attention away once more. Meet me. I can help. What could this mean? The old wounds and new pains collided, urging me in two separate directions towards the past that ripped my heart in place and the present that threatened to tear me apart all over again. Will you come back? The girl asked softly, her hand slipping perfectly into mine, as if it had always belonged there. I could feel her uncertainty mingling with the empathy that emanated from her. I promise, I whispered, yet the weight of the truth felt heavier than ever. The dissonance between who I used to be and who I was now swirled around me as I felt the world shift, poised on the precipice of hope and despair. For a fleeting moment, my heart ached for solace while I wondered if I had the strength to take the leap into the unknown, caught between the storm of my mother's fate and the secrets of a past that still lived like a ghost, waiting for me to face it. The walls began to close in as the choices loomed, and before I could catch my breath, the phone buzzed again, louder this time, demanding my attention. The sudden realization swept through me, whispering that the choices I made next could alter everything I had ever known. The nurse's footsteps faded into silence, and I was left standing in that sterile corridor, the weight of the world pressing heavily against my chest. The little girl remained by my side, her bear forgotten in her grip as she peered up at me with those wide, trusting eyes. She was a reminder of the innocence I longed to protect, not just in her, but from the devastation potentially awaiting me at home, guilt twisted in my gut. I felt torn between the urgency of my mother's condition and the cryptic message begging for my attention. It was an insistent pull, begging me to confront the very past I had tried so desperately to avoid. Let's go find your mom, I said, forcing strength into my voice, though my heart beat erratically in my chest. As we walked, I caught glimpses of other families faced with their own struggles, caught in private moments of fear and longing. A mother cradled her ailing son in her arms, a father sat with his head in his hands. I all too clearly recognized the complexity of this human bond we shared, cemented by love yet fraught with pain. That is she gonna be okay? The little girl asked, tugging on my sleeve gently as we reached the waiting area outside my mother's room. That I swallowed hard. We're hoping for the best. It seemed disingenuous even to my own ears, but I clung to the thread of hope she represented, praying my mother could hold on to life just a little longer. With a shaky breath, I opened the door to my mother's room. The familiar scene encountered me like an uninvited ghost. Tubes and machines surrounded her bed, all whirring and beeping in chilly harmony. I stepped in slowly, but the sight of her pale face caused my heart to crack open. "Mom," I whispered, as if my voice had the power to awaken her from the depths of slumber. Her eyelids fluttered, and though she didn't respond, I felt a sliver of hope. The little girl stepped forward, her small form diminished under the weight of the situation but fueled with genuine compassion. "How about we pray again?" she suggested, gazing at my mother with a solemnity that pierced through my confusion. Maybe it'll help. That I hesitated, the internal battle raging on. What good were prayers among the machine hums and sterile smells that invaded our lives? But looking at the little girl, I felt a small spark ignite within me. "Okay," I said quietly, kneeling in the corner of the room so we could both reach toward my mother. As we held hands, I felt the warmth of her small fingers interlace with mine. "Please help her get better," the girl murmured, her innocence embracing my doubts like the gentle tide, washing away some of the uncertainty that had pooled within me. It was a simple prayer, yet I could feel the sacredness in the space we created. My heart quivered, letting go of some of its burdens. Perhaps this little girl was right. Where science fell short, faith could bridge the chasm. Just then, my phone buzzed again, startling me out of this fragile moment. There it was again. "I can help. Meet me." The urgency of my history felt insurmountable, tugging at me to respond, to engage. Tears pricked my eyes at the thought of my mother, lying there so vulnerable. Yet the other part of me ached for resolution, for acknowledgement of emotions long abandoned like forgotten toys in a dusty attic. A thick silence wrapped around us as I exchanged a look with the little girl. "Do you think I should go?" I asked hesitantly. "With me?" she inquired, her brow furrowed cutely. "Or with her? I mean, I need to choose, don't I? Between helping my mom or something else." "Then choose," she said simply, as if choices were easy. like deciding which flavor of ice cream to pick. My indecision proved like quicksand, swallowing me deeper into despair. But in that small voice, so wise beyond her years, I sensed clarity, a light beginning to shine through the cracks of my internal chaos. In a flash, I made a decision. "I'll stay here with my mom," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "But what if you come with me, just for a bit? You can help me go talk to her." I couldn't help but think about the tumultuous history I shared. With the sender of the texts, the little girl's eyes brightened, giving me a sense of relief. "Okay. I'll pray for her too, and she will feel all of us, right?" Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again, and suddenly the air felt dense, alive, and electrifying. The words lit up the screen like a sinister prophecy. "You think she's your only concern? You have more to lose than you realize." A cold shiver ran down my spine. What did that even mean? I felt like I was standing at the edge of a precarious precipice, and I had no idea what lay beneath it. I glanced at the little girl, her small, delicate features tinged with concern. It was as if she sensed my turmoil, pushing against the weight of my choices, urging me to take the leap. I was standing on the edge, trembling, caught between the pull of the past and the jagged uncertainty of the future. And in that brief moment, I knew decisions will always shape our existence, and sometimes, just sometimes, the hardest choices can reveal unexpected strength in the most unlikely of places. Whatever awaited me, I had to face it, both for my mother and that little girl who believed in the magic of hope. The gentle hum of the machines seemed to shift around me, the sterile environment now feeling almost organic. I took a deep, shaky breath and nodded to the little girl, whose small presence somehow made this daunting choice less intimidating. "Let's go," I whispered, my heart pounding with each step away from my mother's bedside. As we walked, I could feel the weight of my decision looming over me like clouds gathering before a storm. The corridors were filled with shadows that danced with the flickering fluorescent lights, reminding me I was not the only one lost in uncertainty. Families moved in hushed whispers, exchanging glances that spoke volumes of anguish and hope. The little girl skipped beside me, her radiant innocence igniting flickers of warmth in the coldness that enveloped my chest. "What is your mom's name?" she asked, brightening the air with her curiosity. "Her name is Ella," I replied, the name warm on my tongue. I could hear it echoing in the corners of my mind, wrapped in layers of memory. Mother laughing, guiding, comforting. "And what about you? What's your name?" "Lila," she answered, her voice a melody amidst the chaos. "I really love my mom too. She always says when you love someone, you have to be brave." Her words settled into my heart, echoing louder than the beeps of the machines behind me. The deeper meaning settled like a balm over the turmoil within me. Brave. "Yes, that's what we need," I said, smiling at her earnest face. To be brave. We took the elevator down, and Lila's small hand enveloped my larger one, grounding me amidst the swirling confusion. The lobby was a world unto itself, chaotic yet vibrant. A terminal of emotions, people rushing, connecting, searching for comfort. We stepped inside an adjacent coffee shop, the scent of roasted beans drifting through the air. It felt familiar, almost comforting. "Can I have hot chocolate?" Lila asked with wide eyes, the excitement radiating off her in contagious waves. I nodded, "Sure. Let's get two." As we waited for the drinks, I couldn't shake the creeping sensation that the message on my phone had shifted something fundamental within me. I watched Lila with fascination as she danced at the edge of her excitement, completely unfazed by my inner conflict. Perhaps this simple child could teach me something I had long forgotten, the power of presence. "Here you go," the barista said, handing us 2 steaming cups. I watched Lila's face brighten, and I felt a rush of warmth at the thought that amid all this chaos, something beautiful still existed. "Thank you," Lila exclaimed before wrapping her tiny hands around her cup, taking a moment to inhale the sweet, frothy steam as if it were a personal ritual. It struck me how such small moments could wield a sense of control when everything else felt so unpredictable. As we stepped outside the cafe, I pulled my phone from my pocket, the illumination of the screen illuminating my internal struggle. My heart raced again as I read the latest message: "Time is running out." Don't ignore what's right in front of you. Without thinking, I replied, I'm coming. Where? Lila looked up at me, her tiny fingers twitching around her cup. What are you doing? This person they're asking for me, I lied, instinctively not wanting to burden her with my emotional turmoil. But I can't leave my mom forever, you know, Lila nodded solemnly. You can help both. I know it, her confidence sparked something in me, and as I turned to look at her, I realized how much I needed her untainted view on love and bravery. You're right. I can do that. For my mom and for whatever this is. Just then, my phone buzzed again, this time with a new number that caught my attention. Curiosity rose within me, battling the caution that warned against engaging with shadows from my past. I glanced down, my heart stumbling over a chilling message. You think the past is safe? Someone from your history is back, and they want answers. The world around me transformed into a backdrop of potential turmoil, and I could feel my heart drop into my stomach. I opened my mouth to declare that maybe retreating into the shadows had been wiser, but the unwavering gaze of Lila swept through me, reminding me to be brave. Are you okay? She asked, her voice suddenly much older than her years. Yeah, I'm okay, I lied, though a trembling thread of doubt wrapped tight around my heart. Suddenly, I felt I was teetering on the edge of a precipice again and could either leap forward or pull back into fear's dark embrace. Resolution washed over me as the tenacity I witnessed in Lila sparked my own. I had stepped away from my mother, leaving her to face that vulnerability alone. I glanced at my phone again, unsure of whom, or what, I would confront. Let's go, I said finally, sliding my phone into my pocket. We need to find out what's going on. Lila, ever the steady anchor, held my hand tighter. And with a deep breath, I crossed that bridge of uncertainty, ready to face whatever awaited us, knowing that together we could weave enough strength to challenge the currents of our lives, one courageous step at a time. But little did I know, the moment we turned to leave, a figure lingered in the shadows just behind us, watching closely, an ominous harbinger of the impending chaos that was slowly unfolding. The sun hung low as it dipped behind the hospital's drab exterior, casting elongated shadows that seemed to stretch toward me as if trying to grasp hold of my fading courage. Lila's hand remained in mine, her spirit unwavering, yet I could feel a tremble within as I stepped into an uncertain world. Where are we going? Lila inquired, her innocent voice cutting through my turmoil like a gentle breeze through heavy fabric. This way, I replied, my mind wrestling with the looming message of the unknown. Every beat of my heart felt like a countdown, with each tick pulling me further from the warmth of my mother's room. We wandered through the parking lot, where cars blinked intermittently like stars in a darkening sky, and all I could think was how those messages turned from whispers to roars, demanding my attention. Lila paused, her gaze scanning the rows of vehicles. I think there's a playground over there, she exclaimed, pointing at a small patch of green hidden behind the clinic building. Can we check it out? I hesitated, the tension bubbling within me threatening to spill over. A playground? The idea felt achingly nostalgic, yet vibrant, as if a flicker of innocence beckoned from the shadows of my past. Just for a moment. Okay. Lila chirped, pulling me toward the swings. The rusted chains squeaked as they swayed, echoing memories from my childhood, and unburdened laughter echoing in the air, the carefree delight of simple pleasures. As Lila hopped onto a swing, I pushed her gently, feeling her laugh dancing on the wind. Higher! She cried, and I complied, my heart lifting with each rise and fall, an unexpected balm to my mounting fears. But the laughter started fading, replaced with questions that swarmed my mind like bees in a nest. What was waiting for me? What answers would I find? Each swing barely grazed the weight of my decision, yet Lila kept smiling, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. Do you think your mom will get better? She asked suddenly, her voice a soft lilt that momentarily froze time. Yeah, I hope so, I managed, but even as the words escaped my lips, doubts snaked their way in. What did hope even mean in the face of uncertainty? She seemed wise beyond her years, even in her childish inquiries, and just then, in that moment of vulnerability, her gentle spirit nudged me to reveal my fears. What if I make the wrong choice, Lila? What if I can't fix things? You just have to believe in love, she said, her small face turning serious. My mom always tells me love is magic. It makes you brave. Her words echoed in my heart like the ringing of a distant bell, pulling me closer to clarity, yet the shadows around felt inevitable and thickening. Before I could respond, a gust of wind stirred around us, wrapping me in an invisible shroud. Then, my phone buzzed again, a jarring reminder from the depths of my concerns. I pulled it out instinctively, dreading the sight, but curiosity outweighed fear. Another message awaited: they're coming for you. Can you stand your ground when it matters? Who is they? I muttered under my breath, darting glances around as if the answers lurked just outside my view. I glanced back at Lila, whose innocent eyes were darting between me and the swings, confusion painted across her once gleeful features. Who's coming, mister? She pressed gently, concern inching into her voice that I swallowed hard, processing what it meant to protect not just my mother but also this little girl whose heart sparkled with belief. It's nothing, Lila. Just something I need to take care of. Okay. But remember what I said. You have to be brave, she reminded, her grip on the swing chains tight as she held tightly to her own resolve. Before I could respond, an imposing figure crossed the playground's edge, dark against the fading light, a silhouette wrapped in an unsettling familiarity that sent chills racing down my spine. Time seemed to freeze as I felt the air shift, and dread settled in the pit of my stomach. Stay here, I commanded Lila softly, adrenaline coursing through my veins. But her defiance surged as she jumped off the swing, landing beside me with unwavering faith. Who is that? She whispered, her curious gaze aimed directly ahead, unflinching. But before I could process the situation, the figure approached, revealing a face etched in memories I wished to forget. Hello, they greeted, their tone smooth yet ominous, cutting through the twilight like a blade. You've been avoiding me for quite some time. The world blared around me, and I could feel Lila's small fingers laced tightly around mine, grounding me against the tide of recollections merging with the present. I opened my mouth to speak, to demand clarity, but all that escaped was a whisper suspended in the air, heavy with regret and uncertainty. The shadows I had tried to evade were closing in, and as the haunting familiarity washed over me, my heart trembled. Uncertainty swirled with fear and something unspoken, threatening to push us all into uncharted waters. What would they ask of me next? And could I truly remain brave in the face of what my past had brought back? The air thickened with tension, and a chill ran down my spine as I looked into the eyes of the figure who had emerged from the shadows like a specter. They stood there, a reminder of everything haunting my past, their presence a fever dream I could not escape. I clenched Lila's hand tighter, both for her comfort and my own. Why are you here? My voice was quiet but firm, trembling slightly as uncertainty washed over me. Is that any way to greet an old friend? They smiled, a calculated grin that felt colder than the encroaching twilight. I thought you'd want to see me. After all, we have unfinished business. Lila squeezed my hand, the innocence of her grip a fragile barrier against the dread spilling into my thoughts. Are you a pirate? She asked suddenly, tilting her head in wild curiosity. The question was so removed from the gravity of the situation that I almost chuckled, but there was no levity to be found here. A pirate? The figure's brow furrowed, and for a brief moment, they seemed taken aback. Hardly. I'm just a seeker of lost things, like treasure. Lila pressed, oblivious to the undercurrent of fear pulsing in me. More like lost souls, the figure replied, their tone shifting into something darker, wrapping around the edges of my mind. And it seems your mother is in need of saving. Leave her out of this, I spat, yet even as the words left my lips, I felt a flicker of doubt. What did they mean? My mother was so much more than a pawn in this twisted game. Really? You thought you could shield her forever? They laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. The moment you entered that hospital, your hands were already dirty with the choices you've made. Stop. I shouted, my voice shaking with the weight I'd carried for so long. You don't know anything about my choices, about my life. Oh, but I do, they replied, stepping closer. Your choices have led you here, and you've left a trail of pain behind you. Lila tugged at my arm, her little face scrunching in confusion. Are we playing hide and seek now? I knelt down to her level, trying to shield her from the tension festering in the air. No, sweetheart. Not right now. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Just stay close, she nodded, and I could see the flicker of worry buried beneath her trust. It crushed meth transparency of her innocence, so at odds with the ominous presence looming before us. "I'll let you return to your fun game," the figure said, a mocking lilt in their voice. "But just remember, everything is connected. You may want to keep this little one close. Choices have a funny way of crossing paths just like life." With one last glance, they turned and walked away, their form losing itself in the growing darkness of the parking lot. As the shadow receded, I felt the chill of their words linger, an echo that weighed heavily on my heart. That I turned back to Lila, who looked up at me, her brow furrowed in concern. "Are you okay, mister?" For a split second, I hesitated, unsure of how to explain the chaos brewing within. "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a small smile. "Just a confusing game." Her face brightened, but I could tell the shadows of the encounter still lingered in her young mind. "Want to swing again?" she offered, trying to bring light back to our moment. Grateful for her resilience, I nodded, and we moved back towards the swings. But a heavy silence blanketed the playground, and as I pushed her gently, my thoughts raced. The figure's words clung to me, unanswered questions swirling like a tempest within. What did they know? What choices had I made that could endanger my mother or Lila? "Do you think your mom will be happy again?" Lila's innocent question broke through my whirlwind of thoughts. "Of course," I replied, focusing on keeping my voice steady. "We just need to keep believing in love, right?" She smiled, her faith an anchor I clung to, but somewhere deep inside, a nagging whisper grew louder. Would love be enough? The complications of the past echoed chaotically in my mind, and just as I pondered this, my phone buzzed again, drawing my attention back. When I peered at the screen, horrified, I read the message: "They won't just come for you. They will come for her too. Make your choice." My breath hitched, panic ignited within me. "Lila. They're coming for Lila." "Lila," I said, urgency breaking through my calm facade. "We have to go. Now." As I scooped her up into my arms, the world around me blurred. A fateful decision loomed on the horizon, and the shadows dared to close in on the light I desperately needed to protect. Would my desperation push us over an edge I was unprepared for? Or could love, truly, be the magic we needed to find our way back to safety? But that question lay unanswered as I turned into the dimming light, aware that the moment I crossed over would change everything along with the hope we were clinging to. As I raced toward the car, Lila nestled tightly in my arms. I struggled against the rising tide of fear and despair. The world blurred, colors turning muted and gray, as if the universe conspired against us. My heart pounded like a war drum, echoing in my ears, drowning out the sounds of the playground and the laughter that used to fill it. A chill settled over me, stronger than the wind, pressing in from all sides. "Where are we going?" Lila asked, her voice breaking through the haze. "To a safe place," I managed to reply, even though I couldn't shake the doubt that gnawed at me. Would there be such a place? Not with the shadow of that figure looming over my thoughts. "Will mommy be there?" she asked, her innocent gaze searching my face, as though her youthful optimism alone could force certainty into my uncertain world. That I hesitated, caught between her unwavering hope and the unsettling threat that echoed in my phone. "Yes." "Well, find her." I tried to sound convincing, but even I could hear the fragility in my tone. As I fumbled for my keys, the message still flickering like a dying flame in my mind, a sudden warmth enveloped me. A woman appeared at my side, her own eyes wide with concern, her hands reaching towards me. "Are you all right? Is she okay?" I barely registered the stranger's kinness, a soft cocoon against the harsh reality gnawing at me. "We need help," I breathed out, the panic leaking deep into my voice. "Come with me," she urged, fear tinged with resolve. "My car is just over there. You shouldn't be here." As we moved, Lila clung to me, her tiny hands tightening around my neck. I felt the woman's grip steadying, guiding us away from the dark edges of the playground. Her determination was a flicker of hope in the oppressive shadows. "Did you see someone? A man?" She probed gently. "Yes," I replied, fighting the memories surging forward. He knows things about me and my family that he wants to hurt you." Her voice lowered, eyes scanning the playground as if she could read the darkness seeping from beneath the swings. "That I don't know," I admitted, the admission hanging heavily between us. "I just know he thinks he can use us against each other." As we reached her car, she turned to Lila, offering a reassuring smile. "You're brave, sweetheart. Keep holding on to your daddy, all right?" With a nod, Lila's small face reflected the shadows of uncertainty mixed with embers of trust. It broke my heart to see her innocence threatened, and yet her fragile bravery anchored me, pushing me forward. The moment we shut the doors and the engine roared to life, I felt the weight of my decisions pressing down even heavier than before. "Where to?" the woman asked as she pulled away from the curb. "Anywhere but here," I replied, my voice laced with desperation. But every passing street sign carried potential consequences. What awaited us in the unknown? As the familiar landmarks slipped away, the trees blurring into a greenish smear, I felt a small tremor in my arms. Lila's quiet sobs shook me to my core. I turned to her, and for a heartbeat, I wanted to promise her everything would be all right, to fill her heart with hope that felt so fragile in that moment. "You can cry if you need to, sweetheart," I whispered, brushing her hair back from her forehead. "Will we find Mom?" Her words trickled out like whispers of hope, tinged with fear. "Yes," I insisted, forcing my voice to remain steady. "We'll find her," but as I glanced at the hazy outline of the town disappearing behind us, I couldn't shake off the ice-cold dread settling like a stone in my gut. I pulled out my phone again, staring at the ominous message that had derailed my life, hoping to summon clarity from it, but the blinking screen felt like an anchor dragging me deeper into turmoil. Then, amidst the flickering remnants of my thoughts, a sudden realization seized me. What if the choices I thought I had made to protect us had blinded me to the real danger? What if I had miscalculated everything? "Pull over," I barked, urgency igniting me. The woman looked startled but complied, bringing the car to a jarring stop at the side of the road. "What is it?" "I need to call my mom," I said, fear choking me. "She could be in danger." Lila glanced up at me, her wide eyes brimming with tears, and it broke something deep inside. "Are you sure it's safe?" "I have to try." I felt the weight of Lila's trust pressing against my heart. I dialed the number, my finger hovering over the call button like a breath held too long, and just then, as the connection rang, the woman's phone pinged. She glanced down, her own face paling as she read something on the screen, just as a familiar voice filled the car, a voice that could never be forgotten. "Hello." My mother answered, and for a fleeting moment, the fool's hope leaped like flames, igniting the very air between us, but the woman suddenly snatched her phone from her lap, eyes wide with fear. "No, no, not now." She murmured. That I watched her, heart ratcheting up with anxiety as all sounds blurred together. "What's wrong?" And then I heard Ida's soft, unmistakably chilling whisper coming from the other end of my call. "You were warned." The clock's ticking. My breath caught in my throat as I glanced back at Lila, who looked all too confused, too fragile, caught in the crosshairs of everything unraveling. "Who is this?" I demanded, fear spiraling into a wild maze. "Time is not on your side," the voice cooed. "You must make your choice." That I shut my eyes tightly, the weight of it crashing over me like a tidal wave, threatening to drown my resolve. Would I be able to protect Lila? Protect my mother? An echo of laughter rang out on the line, sinister and gleeful, and as I held my breath, I recognized that this was just the beginning, the life teetering between hope and despair, caught in a storm I never wished to weather. Each thud of my heart felt like a battle drum, reverberating in the tense silence that followed the chilling words on the line. "You must make your choice." It echoed mercilessly in my mind, twisting the reality I was clinging to into something unrecognizable. I opened my eyes, desperation clawing at me, and saw Lila looking up with an innocence that felt like an anchor. "What's happening?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. My thoughts raced, tangled and frayed at the edges. "It's just a wrong number," I lied, trying to shield her from the reality crashing down around us. "Everything will be okay." But deep down, I sensed the tempest brewing, the looming threat not just to me, but to everyone I loved. It felt like the truth was circling above, waiting for the right moment to plunge down and strike. I squeezed Lila's tiny hand in mine, drawing strength from her unwavering belief. "Lila," I said gently, wanting to ensure she felt protected in a world spinning out of control. "Whatever happens next, I need you to stay brave. Remember how we prayed together? That was magic. And magic is real." She nodded, a flicker of resolve igniting in her eyes. Yet as I racked my brain for a plan, I realized, I had been fighting shadows of the past, but I'd also been running away from facing my deepest fears, seeing my mother again, confronting the demons that haunted our family, and reconciling the mistakes I'd made. The woman's phone buzzed again, making her flinch. As I quickly glanced over, I saw the name on her screen, a name I had dismissed for too long, Ella. My heart quickened. My mother. "Is that your mother?" I asked, urgency creeping into my voice. She hesitated, eyes darting between her screen and me. "Yes, but this is personal." Where is she?" I interrupted, panic rising like bile in my throat. "She's..." The woman glanced between Lila and me, her resolve faltering slightly as she weighed her words. "She might be in danger. There's something happening at the hospital." In an instant, that creeping sense of dread fully swallowed me. The figure had mentioned something earlier that rang too close to home. "Lila, we have to go back," I said hastily, as determination surged through me. "Are you sure?" the woman questioned, concern etching her features. "It's not safe." "Nothing is safe," I insisted, adrenaline fueling my every word. "But I need to protect my mom, and I have to face the truth. Together." I could feel Lila shift in my arms, and I saw that spark of bravery light up her eyes again. "Let's go, then. I want to help." As we turned the car around, everything coming full circle, I couldn't silence the thoughts inside my head. Could love truly fuel the courage necessary to confront a past riddled with pain? Or would it only drag us further into despair? The roads twisted and turned like our own lives, each curve revealing fragments of hope and darkness. With every passing moment, the tension thickened as I reached for my phone again, stealing glances in between lapses of doubt. I tapped on the texts, rereading the ominous words that haunted me. "Time is not on your side. You must make your choice." That we reached the hospital, the figure from before lurking at the edges of my mind, their laughter echoed like the whispers of a ghost. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into the sterile environment again, every inch of me clamoring for my mother's presence. The cold walls seemed weighty, suffocating, and the fluorescent lights buzzed over us like intrusive thoughts. Lila squeezed my hand, grounding me further, whispering, "You'll find her." Belief sparkled in her eyes, igniting fragments of hope buried within me. We rushed to my mother's room, the door ajar, a quiet melody of machines humming within. As I stepped inside, dread danced along my spine, hissing warnings. My mother lay there, fragile, yet somehow still holding on, both alluring and heartbreaking, like a portrait of something fading. "Mom!" I called softly, feeling vulnerability wash over me. Her eyelids fluttered, and she turned slightly, her gaze falling upon us. "You're back." The words slipped from her lips, woven with surprise and warmth. "I came as fast as I could," I said, each word heavy with meaning. The woman trailed behind us, her expression neutral yet alert. I thought. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The door swung open, and standing there was that figure, the very embodiment of shadows birthed from the depths of my fears. "Nice to see you again," they said, amusement dripping from their voice. "Didn't I warn you? Tread carefully." I felt the rage boil within, but I had Lila, a beacon of innocence, holding tight. "Leave her alone." My voice shook, echoing around the sterile room like a battle cry. "Oh, but she's the key, isn't she?" they taunted, glancing at Lila. "You think keeping her by your side will protect you? How naive." "That's enough," I shouted, stepping forward, body tense, prepared to shield the flame of hope that Lila represented. This ends now. You don't control us, and I will not allow you to threaten my family any longer. Silence hung in the air, thick and electric. Everything stilled, yet the pulse of fear continued in my veins. The figure took a step back, uncertainty flickered across their expression, perhaps a small crack in their facade. Such bravery, they muttered, almost bemused. But be careful what you wish for, my friend. Choices echo and ripple. You may not be able to save everyone you love. I could feel the darkness rising at the edges of my consciousness, taunting me. But in that moment, I looked at Lila, the steadfast light shimmering in the gloom. I thought of my mother, fighting her battles beneath the sterile lights, and the weight stirred something fundamental within me, reshaping my resolve. Choices shape destinies, but they do not dictate them. I might not save everyone, I declared, my voice steady and unwavering, but I will fight for them. With a sudden wave of clarity washing over me, I felt destiny push back against the shadows threatening to upend my resolve. You cannot control what love can overcome. I choose love. As those words left my mouth, a brilliant light sparked around us, a tangible warmth enveloping me, radiating brightly through every ounce of despair I ever felt. Lila giggled, and I felt the surge of power ignite, an invisible shield crafted from sheer belief sweeping through the room. The figure faltered, their expression shifting. No, this isn't how it's supposed to go, they stammered, unease settling at the corners of their grin. Love is not bound by fear, I said, feeling Lila pressed against me, drawing strength from her unwavering belief. Suddenly, the darkness that threatened flared, revealing its fragile edges, allowing light to seep through. You cannot harm us. An explosion of warmth radiated, igniting colors that filled the sterile walls. In that moment, every chain that had bound us faded, leaving behind luminous threads weaving together love, hope, and unbreakable courage. As the figure stepped back, distortions danced in the air, like waves from a stone dropped into a pond. You haven't seen the last of me, they hissed, but shadows dissolved around them, retreating deep into nothingness. Elated disbelief suddenly washed through me. I turned back to Lila and my mother, who now stared wide-eyed, a sense of awe surrounding us like a warm embrace. My heart swelled, enveloped by love and an unyielding resolve. We did it, I murmured, kneeling to meet Lila's gaze. Together. Tears streamed down my face, not from sorrow but from overwhelming gratitude. I faced my fears, confronted the past and inextricably intertwined destinies, all for love. My mother's eyes held a flicker of recognition, she breathed life into our shared pain, gifting me strength. You came back, she whispered, I knew you would. Suddenly, everything felt infinitely right. I hadn't merely chosen to fight, love had chosen me. No longer would I allow the shadows to dictate my destiny, together, we could create a future woven from hope. In that fragile yet powerful moment, we gathered close, forming an unbreakable bond of warmth and courage as we shared our burdens amidst that healing light. Though time may fade, and echoes may linger, I held the lesson close. I was never alone, for in love, there is always magic. And sometimes, magic is not about the flash of something grand, but rather the quiet fortitude found in tender connections. So as I looked around at my mother, Lila, and the love we forged in that room, I believed with every beat of my heart that we could walk forward, lighting the way into whatever lay ahead, together. Remember, I said softly, pulling them close, love makes us brave. And as we locked eyes, sharing smiles threaded with hope, the world around us bloomed like a sunrise filled with endless promise, and at that moment, I knew we could face whatever came next.